Hello, guys, and welcome to this edition of Woman to Woman. I am your host, Anntricia Bray Smith, your professional mentor and speaker. It is indeed a pleasure to greet you on the platform today, as today we have in the studio our special guest co-host, Miss Jackie Bertolette. Excuse me. I want to make sure I get that right.
Okay.
Bertolette. All right. So we're continuing on our season 4 as we're talking about relationships in every capacity of our lives. So who better than to come and join us in the studio today than Miss Jackie? Jackie, go ahead and introduce yourself to our audience and tell them who you are and what it is that you do.
Okay. Hi, I am Jackie Bertolette, and I actually am the owner, founder, and editor-in-chief of Haute Ohio Magazine, which I founded about 6 years ago. It focuses on high couture in the Midwest, but is not limited to the Midwest. We are 100% inclusive, so we have models and designers and across the board, all the gamuts of the walks of life. I also executive producer of Ohio Fashion Week, and I manage models under Discovered Model Scouting and Management. I'm a professional editorial photographer. That's what my degree is back in the day. And I've recently launched my own podcast, A Fashion Empire, and finished my first book called The Mission, Heartening Your Inner Beauty.
That's not only a lot of hats, but
few.
I'm sure you stay pretty productive from day to day, correct?
That's correct. Yeah, that's true.
Our work is never done. So in the midst of all that, I'm sure that you have surely had your experience in different forms of relationships, the highs and lows of what it is. And I'm interested to know, you mentioned that you have a modeling, is it an agency?
It's a management firm.
Management, okay. Discovered. Tell me a little bit about that, about the women maybe that are coming to you. What is it that they're seeking? What is it that they're needing that you provide that maybe they can't find anywhere else?
So the modeling firm is called Discovered Model Scouting and Management, and we use the call letters DMSM. And the reason that models seek me out is because I'm a professional photographer. So as their manager, they get pretty open-ended number of photo shoots, which is huge for a model. They need to constantly renew and rejuvenate their portfolios and their comp cards, and they get that with me. I'm certainly not limited to females. We have males and we have children and we have seniors. I'm about to sign a model who's 65 years old. So size, age, range, gender doesn't matter. But they come to me because I have a unique perspective. In my past, I was a model myself. So between being in front of the camera, behind the camera, being the production, I also make my own clothes. So I'm a fashion designer. So I've pretty much sort of had my hand in all of it. So I think that's why people come to me, is because I can give them the real insight of what it's like. Plus, my main goal is 100% inclusion. I think I already said that. And I'm one of the few management firms that will welcome non-traditional models. So, and we are 100% uplifting as well, which is a little bit rare in this industry. So we love when things wonderful happen to each other, and we clap and we, celebrate each other. And it's really an amazing family. So
I think I kind of want to go back and relive my glory days.
You don't have to go back
and
there's plenty of opportunity.
Try out a little modeling. How is it that your role and your experience when you were modeling, how does that play a role in what you're able to give to the people that come to you, the people that you serve through your agency?
I think, firstly, it's been a number of years since I was in front of the camera. So the industry has changed significantly since then. So in some ways, I'm completely foreign to it, but in many ways, I know what I call it the real industry, the main markets. I know what that's like. It can be pretty cutthroat. It can be kind of nasty and degrading. And I mean, it's not all that way, but it can be very tough on your confidence. And so I think being in front of the camera has helped me to be able to know, like, I know what it feels like to be told you're not thin enough, or, I mean, I was 6 foot tall and a size 2, and I still wasn't thin enough. So I don't want my models to feel that way. I don't want them to feel like they have to be in a certain box. And I want them to feel beautiful, whatever they look like. So.
Absolutely. And it seems like a no-brainer. Why wouldn't they choose you, the one-stop shop with the experience? And then you're taking the time to actually capture that right angle, that good angle that highlights the beauty that is within us all. But sometimes we know as women, like you said, the labels, and you're not thin enough, you're not pretty enough, or whatever. They can always find something wrong with us. And to take something that you have mastered and to capture that in a woman, how does it make you feel? And how do you see the people that you serve? How do you see them transform from when you first start with them until they've gotten a little experience under the belt? And then I'm also interested in knowing, where do they go
Yes.
when you're finished with them, or is this a relationship that's ongoing?
Okay. So management for me ranges from 1 to 5 years. That's completely up to the model. I do not offer contracts to every single person who approaches me. I do feel like I look for what's inside more than what's outside. So you must be kind, you must be personable, and you must be easy to work with and positive. So you have to fit the family before you fit the model for me. So if I meet you and I feel like, okay, that's pretty cool. They're funny, they're uplifting, they could be an asset to our firm. Then I look at what is the potential as a model. I'm not looking at your physical beauty at all. I'm looking inside as to, are you teachable? Are you willing to learn? Or are you going to tell me, no, I know what I'm doing? Well, then you don't need me, and I don't want to be part of that. My goal is to learn from each other, help each other grow as models and as human beings. So when they're finished with me, when the contract is over, I honestly, to this point, have not had anyone leave the management firm of their own accord. I think because it really is, I mean, not only that I provide these services, and I provide opportunities that most management firms don't have access to. But I mean, I think it's the family. It really is. It sounds so cliche, but we may not have, in fact, we just did a photo shoot this past weekend for the magazine that's coming out in fall. And we saw some of our models that we haven't seen in 2 years because of COVID. And it was, oh my gosh, where have you been? Oh my, you're so awesome. I missed you. I mean, like, everybody went, oh my gosh, we haven't seen. And so that's why I think people don't move on, because even when they do hit higher heights, they still want to have that ground of support, I think. So people have moved on to bigger markets. And some people just do this because they just wanted to try it and just want to find their inner beauty and find their self-confidence and walk a runway for the first time. Maybe it's not really their goal for the future, but we give opportunities to first timers, and our seasoned models must uplift and coach the first timers. So I really think I think the modeling is kind of secondary to all of it. I think that's kind of the icing on the cake. Because when I see someone go from, afraid to look in the mirror to, somebody who's walking the runway and calling me saying, when's the next show? I'm like, because let me tell you what, I have been a model and I'm technically tall and, I'm kind of the quintessential model, except that I'm, not young anymore. But it's scary. Walking a runway is hard. It's and to not be perfect and to get up there in front of people and to have the confidence to walk that runway, that in itself is beautiful.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I just see the beauty of your spirit resonates as you smile and you reflect and share that with us. And I thank you for sharing that. We don't hear enough of the good, positive in our relationships as women.
Right.
Sometimes we're so privy to want to look for the negative or to discredit others, and so it's good to know that you value that positivity and empowerment and uplifting other women, because that is truly what we're here about on the Woman to Woman podcast. It's about uplifting and encouraging. But I do want to say now, you have a magazine.
I
You are
do.
editor-in-chief in a magazine. Tell us a little bit
Yes, let me
about that
show it real
magazine.
quick. Can I show it real quick?
Sure.
This is our current issue. The magazine is called Haute Ohio Magazine, much like Haute Couture. And this current issue, this is our summer issue, and we just shot our fall issue, which will come out at Ohio Fashion Week on September 18th. The magazine is sort of the brainchild of my husband and I. I got my degree when I was 20, and I was young, and the world was my oyster, and I was going to move to New York, and I was going to work for a magazine. I was a commercial photographer, and but life didn't happen that way. That wasn't my trajectory. And while I stayed in photography the whole way, I am a Midwest girl. Have pretty much been here most of my life. And there's not a lot of call for high fashion photographers here. So, I held a day job and I worked as an editorial photographer and helping models along as I could. And that's kind of how it all started. Was over the years I was making comp cards for other models, and it kind of just became organically what it is. And then what happened actually was when my third child was born, he was born very, very ill, very ill. And I had to resign from my day job to come home and take care of him. And took a couple of years before he was cleared medically and he, got a good bill of health. Thank you, Lord. But after that, I had worked all my life and it was not that it's not fulfilling to be a mother, a stay-at-home mom, and I have two other children as well. It just was not enough for me and I needed more. And I talked to my husband about possibly going back to work. And that was my goal. But when we put my son in school, it did not go well. um, so he was a bit delayed in some things and the kids would make fun and, the whole everything negative about school he experienced all in first grade. So we pulled him. And since then, my actual priority in our household is homeschooling him. So I virtual school my son and have been doing that for 6 years. During that time of hiatus of, okay, I'm not going back to work, I'm going to homeschool my son, and what do I do with myself? And after we got through the adjustment of homeschool, which is a huge adjustment, it's actually virtual school, but it's a huge adjustment. So I think the whole world knows now because going remote. But after we kind of got a handle on it, then I said to my husband, I don't know what I'm going to do with myself. I can't just clean counters all day long, do laundry. And he said, well, why don't you just start that? He was kind of like half joking. Why don't you just start that magazine you're always talking about? You're a great photographer. And I was like, oh, you're so funny. But that seed really it just started rolling, and one sign after another, and things fell into place. And the next thing I knew, I was like, I guess I'm starting this magazine. And that's how it happened. I have a background in commercial photography and graphic design. I'm a model. I have models. I manage models. I mean, I do all of it except the hair and makeup. And so I enlisted a team who could assist me with it. And then I also have a team of people who come and help me with the things that I I can do, but I'm my plate's so full. So that's the magazine is a culmination of a group of people who have a passion for fashion and uplifting humans, and just bringing bright light into this world. We have columnists who volunteer their columns. We have photographers who come in and volunteer. Um, we have models who come in. We have designers who share their clothes with us. We have, and from around the world. This past issue, in fact, our current issue, if I'm the one that's coming out in the fall, is actually going to feature a designer from Madagascar. So it's an international family that has grown literally from my kitchen table. So it's crazy. It's really crazy, actually. But out of tragedy comes triumph. So
Absolutely. And I think that's when we really know that we're in our lane, in our purpose.
yes.
When we know that it wasn't anything that we could have really did in our own might, but that we breathe this thing, we live it. And that's one of the things, the stigmas or the perceptions, that I'm determined to break, is to think that just because they see us in our greatness, in our successes, does not mean that life for us is perfect, or that it comes without its share of detours along the way, or that it comes without its share of constructions.
That's a great way to put it. The self-doubt. There's a lot of that, every day it kind of crosses my mind, like, am I doing this right? Or why am I doing this? Or, what if I can't do this?
Or even if we have that support, sometimes we know that even in our marriages, when we're trying something new and it's different, we don't necessarily always get the support we need. Some things come off as jokingly or condescending, so to speak, but they're there for us, and in the long run, they want to see us win. No different than our creator, and no different than what we do for other women. And you say you serve men and children as well. We want to see you win, and that's what it's all about. Not only that, Miss Jackie, but you also have a book, and I'm interested in knowing what that book is all about. It is of such a beautiful cover, and I saw that, and it's talking about the inner beauty, and I want to know what that book is all about.
This book is, the title actually came from an interview that I did with a podcaster who said, you should name that book The Mission, because that's what you do. That's your mission. And I was like, oh, I should. So it really is the mission to do 100% inclusion in everything I do. I'm really trying to advocate for that in the fashion industry, and I walk the walk, not just talk the talk. I manage models who are non-traditional as well as traditional. I have challenged models. I have a Down syndrome model. I have a transgender model. I have a young boy, a young girl, an older woman, a mature guy. Plus size. I have all of them because they have beauty inside them. And that's kind of what brought the book about. My mother was a huge cheerleader and would always put kind of goals in my path, like maybe you should think about this, or maybe you should maybe someday do that. And so the podcast and the book both were sort of her, well, maybe you should do this. And during the pandemic, I couldn't do photo shoots, and, there was no runway shows. And so it just seemed like the perfect time to do it. It was almost like God said, this is the time. You're going to do these things, and now I'm giving you the time to do them. And I learned how to podcast, never did that my entire life. And then I learned how to write a book. I mean, creative writing's always been fairly easy for me, but writing a book, new thing. Um, so I set to interviewing some of the models that I've worked with over the years, and a few that I haven't, but I've, crossed paths with. And I specifically handpicked ones that had different paths in their lives. So everything from a simple, somebody bullied me, to I had a dream and, it was challenging to get there, all the way up to, severe abuse, actually. So there's a whole gamut of life stories, and they're all stories of people who overcame the negativity and the challenges and came out in their own beauty through modeling. So, we talked about how it's difficult to get up on that runway. That takes some kind of confidence, okay? Even putting yourself out there as a model and even going up to someone like me and saying, I want to try this, that takes confidence. Um, so to have some of the stories, and I'm telling you, no matter who you are, there is some inspiration in here for you. Um, some of them will make you cry, some of them will make you laugh. Uh, but through it all, they found enough gumption to say, I want to find my beauty. And they found it through going into modeling, through getting up there on that runway, or through standing in front of a photographer for the first time. So it's just a beautifully inspirational book. It's easy to read because it's a collection of journals, small short stories. And we're really excited to have Nigel Barker as one of our cheerleaders. So we have his quote on the cover, and he is an international photographer in the fashion industry who was a judge on America's Next Top Model for several years. And as a matter of fact, speaking of America's Next Top Model, not only the cover model was an America's Next Top Model on cycle 22, Miss Courtney Dupero, but we also have a contestant from America's Next Top Model cycle 19, Victoria Henley. So even some famous stories in there, and some back, they were very open about what it was like to be on the show, and some had positive experiences and some had negative experiences, and they're not afraid to say what life really was like for them and how they overcame it all. So it's a really uplifting book.
And that's just absolutely beautiful. I mean, I'm ready to
You're ready to buy it? You can go to my website to buy it.
Yes, for sure. Well, Miss Jackie, I can truly say that you are a true visionary. It takes a visionary to see and birth all the things that you have. And not only that, to do it with such grace, such genuineness. That's
a beautiful compliment.
It's just shown throughout your interview with me. And I commend you for what you do. And I hope much greater success, not only for you, but for those that cross your path. Just looking for something different, looking for new opportunities, looking for that inner beauty. And that goes just beyond the physical things that we consider to be beauty, that beauty that resonates from the inside out. So as we're winding up our segment here today, could you tell the listening audience not only where they can get this beautiful book, but how they can contact you, or maybe we have someone listening that always wanted to try their hand at modeling, or to see if this is really for them. Maybe they have been counted out because of their sexual orientation or their culture. We know so many people that are just so unkind, and maybe something you said today resonated with them, and they feel like you're the pathway to get them to the place that they desire to be. Where can they find you? Where can they get your product, your book, your magazine? Where are you located?
Yes.
Tell us.
So I'm located out of Cleveland, Ohio, but I'm not limited to that at all. Everything I do, including Ohio Fashion Week, which is our black tie affair, we are still casting for, by the way, if anybody, or maybe you and Tricia would like to walk. So everything is available on our website, Haute Ohio. That's HAUTEOHIO.com. And there'll be links to everything from purchasing merch and the book and the magazine itself to how to be participating in Ohio Fashion Week or the magazine or sponsor it or anything, advertise. So everything is there. And of course, social media, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter.
Awesome. I thank you for sharing it. So you guys, you've heard it, the Fashion Week, it's coming up in September. Also, she gave her website there, hauteohio.com,
Yes.
correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And so go and check it out. If this is something that you always wanted to try your hand at, even if you want to just get a ticket and go in and see what the black tie event, the gala, the Fashion Week is all about.
Dress up and get your beautiful gowns on and your tuxedos and be, be rich for the night.
We haven't been able to dress up for a year and a half.
I know.
So it's a great opportunity, guys, just to check it out and support the mission that is going on with Miss Jackie. I sure appreciate you joining us here on the set today for this edition of Woman to Woman. Until next time, guys, I am your host, Anntricia Bray Smith.